Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Excited today because I always have comments from folks whenever I review something unfavorably, when I'm not impressed by a certain bottle. There's always somebody that bottle speaks to, and every now and then I get comments from people like, hey, could you revisit that bottle? I think maybe it's better than you gave it credit for. So what I've done today is I gave my wife a list of bottles on my shelf that I was at some point I expressed disappointment in. Maybe I didn't review it very favorably. Maybe the more I went back to it, the less I liked it. I even included some bottles that I thought I'd liked, but then in blinds, they performed terribly. So I gave her this list, she poured them, and now I have this spread on my table, 5 glasses that I'm gonna blind. And then I'll rank them from my least favorite to my favorite, and the one that wins the blind, I will be willing to reconsider my position on. Sound good? Now, for this episode, I did tell her to stick to bourbons. So the only things on the table, I think, today should be bourbons. So here we go. I will blind my most disappointing bottles and see if any of them have gotten better over time, or maybe my palate's changed, or maybe I was just downright wrong about them the first time around. We'll start with glass A. Now, we could get a myriad of different styles of whiskey up here. I mean, they're all bourbon, like I said, but ages, price points, location on your shelf, all that stuff is up in the air. I mean, there's a lot of variety in the list that I gave her. This first one's given me a healthy dose of oak, a little bit of graham cracker, like a honey glazed graham cracker on the nose of this one. I've got to take notes so I remember what I said about these. And a touch of cinnamon, like cinnamon toast on the nose too. Let's try it. Cheers. It's kind of soft, but it does have a pepperiness to it as well. It's not overbearing in the proof department. I think this is probably closer to 100, somewhere in that general vicinity. I wrote down oaky and a fuzz of like lemon custard. You know what I mean? You ever get something that's filled with lemon custard? It's kind of like that, but it's very tame, kind of muted, very dry finish as well. On my first pass, I would say this makes sense for why it's in this particular blind, because I'm not overly impressed by this sip in general. I find it to be a little muted, a little tame, and it doesn't seem to have a very clear sense of identity to me either. Let's move on to glass B. This one has a nice dusty quality to it, a little sawdust, a little warehouse funk. You know those candies, you can find them at gas stations nowadays. They used to be very popular, where it was like caramel on the outside and then it was filled in the inside with cream. Oh, you know what it's like? Sort of a similar vibe. Cowtails. You ever have cowtails? They're like these long caramel chews. They're shaped like Slim Jims, and then they're filled in the middle with cream. This reminds me of cowtails on the nose. And I'm gonna say even a hint of like bubble gum coming out of this as well after a good swirl, after a little agitation here. A little bubble gum note. Let's try it. Very sweet, heavy on the oak. Not a lot of base to it. This tastes to me like a really good bourbon that you watered down too much, right? It's like maybe you had a nice bourbon over ice. You let it sit too long, the ice melted, diluted the bourbon. That's what this tastes like. It tastes like something that was good before too much water got added to it. It's very sweet. A little bit of sweet buttercream and plenty of oak on it, but it feels like you diluted out too much of the base notes. So it's all top heavy and nothing's really holding it up and framing it well. That's too bad. I feel like on the nose, this could have once been a really good pour if someone didn't add so much dang water to it. Let's move on to C. Okie dokie. This one has a nice copper sort of a color to it. This one smells like an oak bomb. A lot of oak. Some brown sugary sweetness on the nose. Man, it's hard. It's under there. It's kind of diluted down a little bit, but it's under there. I am getting just a smidge of like a tobacco leaf in here too. We recently spent some time up in northern Michigan. There's this great little like old logging town. It's just next to Sleeping Bear Dunes, just sort of the northeast of Sleeping Bear Dunes is this town that was part of the logging industry, where they would harvest logs in the local forest and then load them up onto ships that were coming through the bay there in the north. It'd be the northeast corner of Lake Michigan, right? We were recently visiting there and just enjoying the scenery and the landscape, and they had this old blacksmith shop that they would still do demonstrations out of. They had an actual blacksmith there, and he would be working, and you could come in and come out, and he'd just kind of talk as he was working. We stood in there for a good half hour and watched him work with the kids. The nose of this reminds me of that, you know? Iron and hot coals. This smells like a hard day's work. I actually like the nose of this. This is kind of nice. I wish it gave me some caramely notes and some molassesy notes, something with some good rich sweetness to it as well, but I'm getting a ton of oak and those coals, you know what I'm saying? The dusty and iron qualities. Lots of that coming through. Let's try it. On the taste alone, I already think I can narrow it down to 2 bottles. I think that's one of the 18 years. Either the Elijah Craig 18 or the Knob Creek 18. Both of those are on the list. I think it's one of those. In which case, what I said about the nose rings very true here. I think that this has some great sort of tobacco leaf notes to it. Tons of oak. It's an oak bomb. And it's sweet, but it doesn't have enough base to it. I want some molasses. I want some deep, dark, rich caramel notes. Something like, even like some good leathery notes. Something to just give it some base in, because it's all oak and top heavy, and I feel like it's been diluted too far down. It's not a bad pour, but if it is what I think it is, you know, one of those 2 bottles, it's just really expensive to get something that I think is a little lackluster in the flavor department. And if I'm going to get something that's a little lackluster in the flavor department, I don't want to spend a lot of money on it, especially not $200. But on taste alone, I don't think it's in last place so far. Let's move on to glass D. Alrighty. Ooh, Werther's Original Butterscotch Candies. Very first thing that comes to mind on the nose of this one. A little bit of a maraschino cherry on the nose too. Yep, butterscotch, cherries, and sweet oak. And now we try it. That's not bad. Oh. It maintains some of that butterscotch, a little bit of that cherry note in the mid palate, and the finish gives me just a little fuzz of spice. A little bit of a peppery spice to it as we transition into the sweet oak finish, which a lot of these I think are going to end up having as bourbons. Huh. Really nothing wrong with that pour. That's not bad at all. I don't think I would stand in line for it, whatever it is, but if it was available and affordable, I might pick up a bottle of it. I like that it maintained that sort of butterscotchy note. You know, none of these so far have really delivered some of those, you know, sweet caramel notes on the palate that I've wanted to give it some body to it. This one preserves some of that. It still doesn't taste like it's a really high proof point, but it does preserve some of that caramely butterscotch, you know, that thick, viscous, gooey, butterscotchy note, and that I think gives it a little bit more body, a little bit more framing than some of the other pours I've had so far today. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's move on. Last but not least, glass D. E. I lied, glass E. Hello. Ooh, tell me about yourself. Fresh baked blueberry muffins on the nose. Fresh baked blueberry muffins. Ooh, I like that. With a little streusel on top, some of the cinnamon and sugar. Yeah. And it's carrying a little bit of heat on the nose. Not too heavy, not too hot, but a little bit of heat on it. Maybe 105-ish, somewhere in there for the proof point. Oh, I'm going off the nose alone here. That could change. Let's try it. There's a fair amount of oak on this, but that sort of blueberry fruity quality, that persists for me. Sweet, soft oak, kind of like we were getting on what I think was, well, glass C. I think that one was one of the 18 years. This one's preserving some of that nice, long-aged sweet oak, mature oak notes, but it has a little bit more body to it. It's not just all oak. There's this sweet, fruity quality and a savory quality that's going alongside of it in tandem. So it's not just the oak standing on its own on an island. It's got a little bit of base to it, a little bit of body. Now, I said blueberry muffin on the nose, on the palate. I want to say more like almost like a blueberry strudel of some kind, or a pastry. I get sort of that flaky pastry dough sort of a note on this as well. It's sort of savory, a little bit salty, but then it's accompanied and offset by that fruity blueberry jammy sort of a note as well. I like that. That's actually pretty good. Okay. Well, I gave initial scores on these. Down the side here. Boop-a-boo. I'm going to go ahead and revisit these and modify these scores as I do one quick pass through all of them, and then finalize my scores and rank them from my least favorite to my favorite today. Sound good? Let's do it. All right. I'm done. I got it. Got it sorted. Y'all ready? Last place. And this one was firmly in last place for me. It just didn't have enough going for it. It was kind of a nothing burger. You know what I mean? Bit of a nothing burger. But Glass A is going to be my 5th place. So the first one that we tasted tonight. Glass A takes last place. In 4th place is going to be Glass C. So this is the one that I said I think it was one of the 18 years. Tons of oak and some brown sugar. A fuzz of tobacco leaf on the nose. But when it came through on the palate, it was just all oak and nothing really supporting it and framing it. The oak notes were really nice and really pleasant. At least it had some identity to it. It just wasn't what I wanted out of it. I wanted a lot more. So that one takes 4th place. Now my top 3 were actually really close. Okay, really close in score. There was a clear winner, but 2nd and 3rd place were the ones I really struggled. I kind of flip-flopped on. So it was between B and D. So the second one we tried and the 4th one we tried. So those 2 were the ones I was kind of going back and forth on for 2nd and 3rd place. But I think for today, for my palate today and what I was enjoying, I'm going to go 3rd place is going to belong to Glass B. We said it had some that cowtail note, right? The long caramels with the cream inside. It was a little too diluted for me, not enough bottom end, but it was still really tasty nonetheless. So that one's going to take 3rd place. And then I thought that D was just a little bit more of a complete package today. So Glass D is going to take 2nd place. That maraschino cherry, sweet oak, those, the Werther's original butterscotch notes that persisted from nose to palate. I liked that, gave it some nice body. So that one's going to take 2nd place, which means 1st place is going to go to the last one we tried today, Glass E. This one we said blueberry muffin, some streusel, and also a lot of that mature oak on it as well. So that one took 1st place. Shall we see what they were? Let's do it. So last place was Glass A. Let's see what it was. Oh, that doesn't surprise me. That's Redwood Empire, the Screaming Titan. That's part of the Small Lot series. This one right here. Boom. Screaming Titan takes last place today. Right in the corner there, but last place, Screaming Titan. So when I reviewed this, I had basically the same things to say about it. I said it was kind of a nothing burger to me. It just did not have any strong identity to it. It was just too bland, which is, unfortunate for something that is a limited release. I think it's $90 MSRP. So for that to get so little flavor out of something that's close to $100, I just was not vibing with it, which is too bad because I love the other Small Lot series releases between Devil's Tower and a Foggy Burl. But some people love this bottle. I will tell you that. Some people adore this bottle, so don't just assume that my palate is the same as your palate. You might love this bottle, maybe pay for a pour, ask for a pour, or a sample from somebody who has a bottle of it as well before you buy it. But for me and my palate, not my thing. Not my thing. 4th place was Glass C. And this was, I was right. Well, kind of right. I narrowed it down to Elijah Craig, 18 year. So this is the Elijah Craig 18 year, $200 bottle of whiskey. 18 years of age on Elijah Craig. That explains why we got some of that tobacco leaf for sure. But I think that they just diluted it down way too much. It's just all oak and nothing else. Some people in my whiskey club here in Grand Rapids actually love that bottle. And they get mad every time I say I don't like it. Because they're like, dude, sometimes you're just in the mood for just a ton of oak and brown sugar. And it's like, that's totally fine. But that's not what I want out of a $200 bottle. If I want to go lick a log with brown sugar on it, I've got some oak planks in the garage. I'll just sprinkle some sugar on it. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to do that again in a video. Anyways, let's go on to 3rd place. Went to Glass B. Glass B took 3rd place. Oh, really? Interesting. That's actually Blanton's. Okay, so this is just the standard Blanton's, nothing crazy, just the regular Blanton's single barrel, right? 93 proof here. Yeah, so when I bought this bottle, I got it for MSRP, $60, and I said for $60, it's fine. But I also said that I don't really do the whole hype, chase this bottle, go crazy, goo goo gaga for it. I just think it's fine. I think it looks good on a shelf. It was one of the first questions that people ask when you're like, oh, I collect whiskey. They're like, got any Blantons? It's like, yes, I do. Got some other really good stuff though. But anyways, that's just the standard Blanton single barrel. Nothing too crazy. I think my verdict on that one was just that it wasn't worth the hype. It's a fine bottle and it looks really cool. And I think today, right along there with you, with what I said originally, it's a fine bottle. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. 2nd place then went to Glass D. Can I make a guess? Because this is I'm going to guess it's a bottle that has gotten better over time for me. I reviewed it kind of poorly, and then the more that it sat, the more that it opened up, the more I kind of liked it. I still don't think it's phenomenal or anything. It's like $100 bottle, but it was the new Riff 8-year Bottle and Bond, which was a limited release this year. And I liked it. I didn't love it, though. And I kind of wanted to love it. Similar thing where I just felt like it was diluted too much. It didn't have enough. It didn't preserve enough of the new Riff qualities that I really gravitate towards it and like a lot of. But anyways, the more it's opened up, the more I've enjoyed it. I don't know if that's what it is, but we'll find out right now. Second place went to Glass D. Let's see. That's exactly what it was. Yeah. New Riff, 8-year. That bottle has gotten better for me over time. This is it. New Riff, 8-year. Bottled and Bond, 100 proof. Well, actually, it doesn't label it as Bottled and Bond. So I don't think, maybe it wasn't in a bonded warehouse, which is fine. But it is 100 proof. Maybe it just doesn't meet all the conditions for being Bottled and Bond. 65% corn, 30% rye, 5% malted barley, aged at least 8 years. Could have been maybe not in the same season. That's a possibility. The labeling on this is really clean, by the way. I really love the bottling. Looks really pretty. That bottle has gotten better for me over time, which is why I thought maybe that's what it was. And it was! That's pretty cool. I don't know what our first place is. Honestly, I don't know. There's several things that it could be that were on the list. But my first place went to Glass E. So let's see what that was. Oh! Redemption! Wild Turkey 12-year! This was one that, when I first cracked it open, I was like, I really like this. And then I blinded it with a ton of other Wild Turkey products, and it took dead last place. It lost to just the standard 101, lost to Rare Breed, lost to everything. It lost everything. And I was like, no way. How does the 12-year lose to all of the other offerings? Last place. Well, now it got a little bit of redemption. It came into another blind, and it won. So that is this guy, the purple, nice, well, it's like a bluish purple. I don't know, bluish purple. It's supposed to be an international release only. Age 12 years, is 101 proof. It's basically Wild Turkey 101, age 12 years. I think I said blueberry when I reviewed it, actually. So good to have a little consistency there. Boom. Wild Turkey, 12 year, takes first place. How about that? A little redemption for the bird. Love it. Well, that's pretty cool. I enjoyed that blind. It was fun. So would I go back on anything I've said about these? I think the one, to be honest, that stands out the most would probably be the New Riff 8-year. I think that's the one that's sort of come the furthest from my initial impressions of it. Screaming Titan, I'm still spot on with what I said about that originally. Same with Elijah Craig 18-year. Same with Blanton's. It took dead middle of the 5. It's like dead in the middle today because I said it's fine. And today it was fine. But I think New Riff 8-year is the one that really stands out the most as having the most growth in my own, perception since I first tried it. So I like that one a lot more than I originally did. The Wild Turkey 12-year, I think this is more of a redemption story because I reviewed it favorably, and then it took dead last in a blind, and then now it gets first place again. A little bit of a redemption story, redemption arc for the 12-year bird. Hey, well, that was fun. We'll take our New Riff. And that's what we will cheers to, what we'll clink to today. Hey, thank you so much to all of my supporters who help fund the bottles that we get to pick up and review here on the channel, whether you're just a viewer or a Patreon supporter. Just know that I really do appreciate your support on the channel, making it something that I can spend the time to invest in and really enjoy doing. It's a lot of fun. And just a heads up, so we're doing a new series called Dramguard versus Patreon. So you should see a video titled something like that coming out soonish, and maybe in the next couple of weeks. But the idea is that my Patreon members in our Patreon lounge, what I did is I put a bottle up and I said, hey, I'm issuing a challenge. The gauntlet thus thrown. I have a bottle I don't think any of you guys can beat with a bottle on your shelf. So it sticks within a category. The first category is going to be ryes. We'll do this with, it depends on obviously how good it goes over. But I'd like to do this with every category of whiskey. My American Single Malt, my bourbon, my finish, or my toasted is better than yours. So threw the gauntlet down. I threw up my Old Overholt 10-year, which has won every blind it's been in, save for one. And I said, I don't think you have a rye on your shelf that can beat my Old Overholt. So several people accepted, and they're like, bet. So I don't know what they're sending in. They're communicating with each other, and then with my wife, they'll send in samples that are only labeled with their name. So I'll do a bracket style, because we had enough submissions that I can't just do it in one blind. So I'll do a bracket style where we'll have 2 rounds where the submissions will go head-to-head with each other, and then we'll take the top 4 and then stack them up with my Old Overholt. And we'll see if my bottle wins or if one of yours wins. I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun. By the way, if you ever want to get involved in stuff like that, go ahead and join our Patreon group. The base tier is just $1 a month, but we try to do fun stuff like this whenever we get a chance to. We're also doing another bottle share. That one's for, I think, the $5 tier and up. But that one is going to be, we all are going to submit local bottles. So like local craft distilleries to us. That way we get to taste a lot of craft whiskey from all across the United States when we do our bottle share together. That's going to be a lot of fun. You want to get involved in stuff like this, join our Patreon group. Super cool people doing super cool things. Trading samples with each other, swapping bottles, all that stuff. You get access to that just by being a part of our community. So if you want to get it just into our Discord, you can do so perfectly for free, by the way. Description. Cheers, my friends. That wasn't loud enough. I hit the label. It's kind of muted. Let's twist it. Get right there on the glass. Right there. Let's do that. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.